Okay, this is the Rancilio Silvia PRO double boiler espresso machine. This one came to me not completely working 100%. It had a issue with the steam boiler where it just would not heat up. The light up here would blink like it was heating up, and after about 10 or 15 minutes it would give me an error saying, I think it was error 03 or 04. And when you look up that error, it's the steam boiler will not heat. So I got it at a pretty good discount, and I was able to open up the machine, take the top plate off, take the back plate off, and I located a resettable thermostat, hit the button, issue is gone. It now heats up and runs like new. Well, I'm assuming like new. I've never owned one from new, but it does everything you would expect a double boiler machine to do. It's very well built, fully stainless steel. Everything's easily accessible. You just take off these 6 bolts on the top. There's a couple of bolts that you have to remove here near the frame. The back comes away, and it's pretty easy to service. So I think that's going to contribute to these machines, like the Rancilio Silvia before it, having an extremely long lifespan for a home espresso machine. Seems to be built of the typical components you would find in most high-end prosumer grade espresso machines. The Diletta Mio over here has some similar components, although it's built a little bit differently. Still pretty comparable, but it's a pretty easy to service machine, and I think that's what's going to make it overall have a much longer lifespan than other machines, such as your more plasticky, DeLonghi machines. Gaju Classic Pro is a good machine, but this is built a little bit better in my opinion. The quick mill machines like the Pippa and this Diletta Mio, they're pretty similar. The Diletta has a little bit more going on, I think, and that helps contribute to some faults that may happen in the future, but I think this is a pretty easy to service machine as well. So let's carry on with the Silvia. I'm going to make a shot of espresso, and you can see it's got a PID up here. It's pretty easy. Steam button, hot water button, everything works as you would expect it to. And I'm going to go ahead and make a iced latte, vanilla iced latte. So I've already got the portafilter loaded. One thing I like about the portafilter is it's either angled or it just sits very nicely, so it's completely flush when you're sitting that, so you're loading it in and it doesn't load in the coffee at a weird angle that you have to then kind of tap the portafilter to get rid of. But I've already got it loaded up with 18 grams of coffee, and this is 18 grams and a puck screen, so you could theoretically put in more, but I think that's just right for this coffee. Might have been a little too much. I think the coffee's coming out a little slowly. I did fine up the grind a little bit before this when I was using my other machine, so that probably contributed to it. But it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it is coming out fairly slow, but this is going to be in a nice latte, so not the biggest deal. So we went 18 to 38, and check out how that espresso is cascading. Looks pretty cool. You can see it sitting on top of the vanilla syrup I put in there. I'll give it a mix. Throw it in on top of this. Beautiful. And since I'm not steaming milk, I'll go ahead and show how effective the steam wand is. This is a pretty powerful steam wand. Comparable, I think, to like the Lillet Bianca. I've owned one before, and I think the power is pretty comparable, even though the boiler size is different. This is only a 1 liter boiler, and I think the Lillet has a close to 2 liter boiler, for the steam boiler at least. And it heats up pretty quickly too. I mean, it takes maybe 5 minutes. steam for pretty much any size that you would need to go with in a home setting, at least. Maybe not commercially, but in a home setting, yeah, I don't see you needing any more steam than that. Let's see if I can take this off and give you a better look at the machine. It's got a little ding right here. Not sure what from, but not a big deal on a nice fully stainless steel machine like this. And that's about all I have to say about the Rancilio Silvia Pro. I wish it had the Pro X's pressure gauge, but no big deal once you set it to 9 bars, and by all accounts these are pretty generally set around the 9 bar area from the factory. Then it's not much to worry about. This does have 2 vibration pumps, which is interesting. One feeds the steam boiler and the other one feeds the brew boiler, so you never have to worry about running out of water and affecting your pumps or your boilers because the vibration pumps automatically fill, which is a great feature to have. A lot of people burn out their heating elements on their boilers prematurely because they forget to fill them. They run it, the boiler burns out because it's not meant to heat air, it's meant to heat water, and the water keeps it at a constantly lower temperature. But if it's just sitting there in air, it's gonna be bad. That's my little vacuum. Let me turn it off.
Cleaning pause.
Bad timing. Yeah, and the water is great to have, but also another thing that's a little bit of a con is it will only work if the steam boilers heat up, because it uses the pressure from the steam boiler to dispense the water. So right now, perfectly fine. Easy, great water. But if the machine is cold and you just want some water, it's not like a single boiler machine that's going to use the coffee boiler for the water and use the pump to dispense it. It has to have a fully heated steam boiler in order to dispense hot water. Another thing that's a little annoying is this drip tray. On this Diletta Mio over here, the drip tray is kind of the exact opposite. It's really big and it's nice, but it gives you a very small cut clearance. On the Silvia, you have a ton of cut clearance, way too much, I think. I guess if you want to make a huge latte, you can stick a really big mug under there, but I prefer to just use something like this and then dump the espresso in the latte, or dump it in the cup that you're going to put the latte in. But this is pretty much the same drip tray from the Silvia. Exactly the same drip tray. And it's a high quality drip tray, but it's just so small. And there's this lip right here that makes you have to pull it up to pull the drip tray out, which pretty much guarantees you're going to spill it if you don't dump it every time you use it. Oh, but other than that, there's not really a whole lot of annoyances with this machine. It's pretty basic, and it's going to work for you for a long time. And it's easy to service yourself, even if you're not somebody who's experienced. You just unbolt it, and once you get in, you know how to do it again, so it's easy. You could replace a vibration pump, I think, pretty easily. Just make sure the machine is unplugged and cooled off before you do any work on it. Honestly, it's pretty good for somebody who's willing to do a little bit of their own work on a machine, and if you have that buy once, cry once mentality, I think the Rancilio Silvia Pro is a good machine to last you the rest of your lifetime.